What happens when a woman knows in her heart she is a mother, even though God has not yet opened her womb? This is the story of Hannah, a woman pushed to her breaking point by years of disappointment, silence, and public shame, yet who carried something deeper than her pain. While others saw barrenness, Hannah held on to a quiet identity she could not yet prove. She cried out to God in a way that was raw, desperate, and completely surrendered. In that moment, a turning point was set in motion. Not just because she asked for a child, but because of how she asked, what she was willing to give up, and how her prayer aligned with something far greater than her own life. Because Hannah's story reveals a powerful truth. Not all prayers carry the same weight, and understanding why hers was answered can change the way prayer is seen today. There are many prayers spoken every day. Some are routine, some are rushed, some are spoken without much thought. But Hannah's prayer, it came from a different place. A place where identity existed before evidence, where she believed something internally that her life had not yet reflected externally. And that tension between what she knew and what she saw is what drove her to God. Because when everything around her said empty, something inside her still said mother. And that's what made her prayer different. Hannah wasn't just asking God to give her something new. She was asking him to bring into reality what she already carried in her heart. And that's where everything begins. What do you do when what you believe about yourself doesn't match what your life shows? Hannah lived in a constant cycle of hope and heartbreak, loved by her husband, yet quietly suffering year after year without a child, while someone close to her used that pain against her. Because this kind of tension doesn't just hurt, it challenges identity, faith, and trust in God. This wasn't a private struggle, it followed her everywhere. At home, on the journey to worship, even in moments that were supposed to bring peace. Hannah shared her home with another woman, Peninnah, her husband's other wife. Peninnah had what Hannah longed for, children. Laughter filled her side of the house. Voices, movement, life. But where Hannah was quiet, Peninnah was loud. Where Hannah carried sorrow, Peninnah displayed her strength. And instead of covering Hannah's pain, she exposed it, mocked her, provoked her, reminded her again and again of what she lacked. And here's the deeper contrast. Hannah carried identity without evidence. Peninnah carried evidence without humility. Hannah wept before God. Peninnah spoke over her. One was broken, the other was proud. And just when it felt heavy, it got heavier. Year after year, the same pattern repeated until Hannah broke. And over time, pain like that forces a decision. Let go of what you believe, or hold on to it even tighter. Hannah chose to hold on, not because it made sense, but because something inside her refused to let go. And when that tension became too much to carry, she stopped explaining it to people and took it straight to God. Is God really moved by our prayers? Hannah stepped into the presence of God, carrying everything she had been holding inside, and instead of holding it together, she let it all pour out. Because this moment reveals that it's not polished prayers that move God, but honest ones. There was nothing impressive about the scene, no powerful voice, no perfect structure, no carefully chosen words, just silence, just tears, just a heart breaking open. And then something deeper begins to unfold, not on the outside, but where it truly matters. Because while others were watching her outward behavior, God was looking at her heart. Nearby stood Eli, the priest, the one responsible for overseeing worship in the house of the Lord. And when he saw Hannah, he got it wrong. He assumed she was drunk. But that moment reveals something important. What people misunderstand, God fully understands. Where Eli saw disorder, God saw surrender. Hannah wasn't trying to sound strong. She had stopped pretending. She had stopped holding back. And in that moment, her prayer became real. And real prayers reach God. What if the answer to your prayer required trusting what you already believe? In the middle of her prayer, Hannah made a bold promise. If God gave her a son, she would give him back completely. Because her prayer shifted from proving something to trusting something. This is where her prayer deepens, not just emotional, aligned. Give me a son, but then I will give him back. That changes everything. Because now, she isn't asking God to create something new. She's asking him to confirm what she already believes. And that's rare. Most people pray out of lack. Hannah prayed out of identity. She wasn't trying to become a mother. She believed she already was one. She just needed heaven to agree with it. And that is what gave her prayer power. So what actually makes a prayer powerful enough to be answered? Hannah's story reveals that it's not just about asking, it's about believing, surrendering, and aligning. Because God responds to what is real, not just what is said. Hannah didn't just pray from pain, she prayed from identity. She believed before she saw. She surrendered before she received. She obeyed after she was answered. And that's the difference. God wasn't moved by pressure, he was moved by alignment. What she believed matched what he intended. And that's why her prayer was answered.